Um, our guest name is Paulie Drexler. She owns Springside Farm in Fabius, New York, which is just south of Syracuse. And Polly is best known. I don't know what she's best known for. She has some very nice fiber animals. She also raises some really lovely guardian dogs that we need to be prepared to discuss. Guardian dogs with Polly when we get her on the line. And the reason we've invited her is that she is on the board of the Central New York Fiber Festival, which is coming up June 10th and 11th. And so we want to hear about that festival. And also, she and I are on a committee that is planning a one-day event with the support of Cornell Cooperative Extension's livestock team. And that one-day event will be June 11th at the festival, held concurrently. And once everyone gets on, we'll go over the agenda. But so that's the topic for tonight, talking about the beginning fiber farmer event, and that's for sheep, alpacas, mohair, goats and angora, rabbits, and cashmere goats, anything fiber. Maybe we'll even talk about bast fibers, that's hemp and linen, at that event on June 11th. Registration is still open. There's only room for 50 people, and there's still room for a few more, but it's going very well. And we'll talk about that more in a bit.
Yes, and I am waiting to see Polly in our chat. This Instagram is not allowing me to just cold invite her like I'm able to with you. So I'm going to have to wait until she joins us in the chat, and then I can invite her.
Okay.
So
I
hopefully she'll pop in
from the
soon.
mill tonight.
Fantastic.
As you all can see, I will turn my camera around so you can see what I see. It's
Looking good.
been a very busy day. You know, we brought home 23 orders from Maryland. Hannah, you and Andrew. Folks, Hannah's hubby had never been to a fiber festival. And by the end of it, he was our lead cashier. And he turned on all his Southern charm. And you should hear him say, "Oh, would y'all like just one more skein of that?" Oh, it's lovely. And he did a really good job as our cashier. And it freed me up to take in those 23 orders, which is crazy in and of itself. So the four of us held down the fort until Hannah went to her book signing. And then my friend Claire, who is not a retail knitter in the least. She's a R&D person for the developing new yarns, mainly kind of high tech. She just likes it. And so anyhow, Claire also helped sell things. Of course, then she egged me on into buying some baskets. So I started eating into the profits. I'd been very good all weekend until about 3 o'clock. And then that was it. But Maryland was absolutely beautiful. Carol is on, by the way, Hannah. And
I see. And there's Polly. I am just getting her into the group.
And I think that Carol's going to have a really beautiful weekend also at New Hampshire Sheep and Wool.
Oh, wonderful.
And I say it like she'll be alone there. Carol is going with MJ, and they'll have the yarn and the soap. So just like they had last weekend at Maryland. And she's graciously taking some of our customers' orders over on Friday, tomorrow, so that they can have them to sell. Oh, Carol said, "Hi, everyone."
I see.
Yeah, it's so appreciated, Carol, that because since she's going, she'll get a couple of those orders in people's hands to sell, which really works out well. And then we'll come. Well, there's Aria from Elmira, and there's Ashanti. Hi, good to see you both.
Hi.
So anyhow, let's see, where are we? I'm going to go to New Hampshire just on Sunday for people who want to drop off fiber can do so Saturday or Sunday at Carol's booth or at Kingdom Fleece and Fiber. Liz has a booth there too. So New Hampshire won't be quite as crazy as Maryland, but I think we're still going to have a great opportunity to see a lot of old friends.
Well, Paulie, I'm trying to get you in, but it's telling me that we have to accept the invite and that you have to accept the invite. Do you want to pop out and come back in? We'll see if it works for you the same way it worked for Mary Jeanne.
And the other thing is, I could just hang up if there was only room for
No,
one.
it's not. It's not that. It's just being fussy. Sometimes, here we go.
I think
now we got it.
Oh, I had to walk outside.
All
well,
good.
there you
Sometimes it's just really fussy.
Okay. Well, let's see if you lose me when I walk back in again. And no, we're still there. Okay.
Great.
Hey.
Welcome, Paulie.
Welcome. Sorry, that was this is like above my technology skill set.
Well,
that is A-okay.
We hear you loud and clear, so you could stop.
Everybody
moving.
hears me loud and clear, silly.
Stop moving.
Everybody hears.
Look right at the camera. You don't have to move.
I'm trying to figure that out. I'm trying to figure out a place to put it. Okay. All right. I stopped moving. I'm here.
We've got you.
So I'm going to introduce you in more detail again, and starting with
dear.
origin story. So this is Paulie Drexler. She and her husband have Springside Farm in Fabius, New York, which is just south of Syracuse. And I met Paulie probably 20 years ago.
Oh my God.
When I had first moved to Watkins Glen. And I had it in my mind that all you had to do was go to a wool pool and buy a couple 100 pounds of wool and send it to a mill, and you can have a custom yarn for your store. That's it. Any wool would do because it's called wool. It's a wool pool. And so maybe it's from different kinds of sheep. There's white sheep and there's brown sheep. So this is how little I knew 20 years ago. So I show up at the Finger Lakes Wool Pool, at which there was some really lovely fiber, mainly from people who either didn't know what they had or didn't have a market. And then a whole lot of fiber that was very good for a commercial grade wool, but not for a yarn store lady. And I'm looking at it, and it's like looking at hieroglyphics. This is before I knew about crimp, tippiness, uniform, staple length across the fleece, second cuts, high amounts of it. I didn't know any of this stuff. But Paulie Drexler was there, and she saw me looking at these fleeces like a deer in the headlights and gave me a crash course in what to buy and what not to buy.
I can't even remember that. That's how stupid I am.
Without you. And it went beautifully, and I started buying with confidence based on that lesson. And then fast forward to 2009, 2010. I don't really know the exact date, but those of you who have watched a long time know that the mill was not always very profitable, especially right after it burned to the ground. We were in kind of trouble, and I went to work in what I used to do, which was consulting. And I worked for trade associations. The Christmas Tree Farmers Association of New York needed a part-time executive director. They didn't have a big budget, and that was a perfect fit. They'd reached out to a colleague of mine who did association management work, and he said, "You want Mary Jeanne because she'll help you get going," and so on. So it was perfect fit for us both. They needed some help. I needed some help. So I go to their very first meeting, and there's 300 people in a room, right? And I'm just observing. I'm not actually working this show. The previous volunteer executive directors are running one last show, and there I am, nervous as all get up, and I decided to take out my knitting because there's nothing more comforting than having your knitting. It wasn't long before I noticed the girl sitting a couple of rows in front of me also had out her knitting. And she turned around.
A lot of us.
She looked at me I looked at her. This goes on through the whole 1 hour presentation, which was really lovely. I still remember the presentation. It was on wreath making. And some gals called the Two Sues were there from West Virginia, Virginia. It doesn't matter where. Anyhow, the gal and I finally, at the end of the presentation, said, I know you from somewhere. And about at the same moment, we both said, from the wool pool. And that just cemented things. And we've been getting into little fiber mischiefs ever since.
Just a little?
Little fiber mischiefs.
Just a little.
Then along the way, the Central New York Fiber Festival started. And Paulie, who isn't quite sure ever how to say no, ends up becoming one of the leaders of the event. And I end up becoming one of the sponsors of the event and used to have a booth for several years. And then my kids all started graduating from college and getting married and having babies, and it was always Central New York. So after a couple of years, they thought I didn't like them anymore and stopped even sending me a notice of how and when to register. So this all
because you kept saying you couldn't come, so why beat a dead horse, you know?
Around last year when somebody had canceled, and Paulie, who knew that I was a sincere person, I said, well, you know what, I can come for a day, and I feel bad about coming to shows and meeting people in the parking lot. I feel like it's only fair that I buy a booth and not just take advantage of your parking lot for business transactions. So she put in a good word for me. I put in, a good word for me. And next thing you know, I have a booth. And hence, we'll be there to pick up your fiber on June 10th and 11th. So there's a very long introduction of who is Paulie, how I met her, and all the good deeds she's done in our world for the last 20 years. And it's all very appreciated.
It is very appreciated. But the people that put on that little fiber festival, their technical name is the Central New York Fiber Artists and Producers. So while we have a lot of people who do wonderful things with yarn, there are a lot of us there who actually start from the raw stuff right here. I'm out here sorting alpaca fleece while I talk to you.
Until June 10th.
Yeah. So we're always concerned to get mills in, because in the long run, we have to start from somewhere. And we didn't have enough mills, and I sympathize with Mary Jeanne because she had so many things going on. You cannot be two places at once. I've tried it. I've met myself coming and going, so I know I've gotten close. But I've never been two places at once. So finally, one year when it looked like a couple of our mills retired, and I went, has anybody heard from Mary Jeanne? And we drag her back in again because we need her. We need mills. We need more than one mill. I love Bat and Kill, but there's also the need for there's a little Indy Carter in Rome, New York, and I use her a lot for really tiny batches of stuff I just want carded. So there's a lot going on in the fiber world. And,
we can say her name. She's our friend, Sunny Bixby.
No.
I don't know what her farm is called, but Sunny Bixby.
Liberty Ridge, but it isn't Sunny I'm talking about.
Oh, well, there's Sunny will card for
somebody even tinier than that.
Wow.
Beth Marcellus in Rome. And she's just, if there is such a thing as an Indy Carter, she is one. And she does a nice job. Very creative.
For an Indy Carter, we spin for a mill called Kingdom Fleece and Fiber up in northern Vermont. They don't have a spinning frame either, and they wash, pick, and card, and then they send it to us, and we spin it and give it back. And it's their customers' fiber, and they do all the transactions. We just throw it on our spinner for them.
It's a small community that does tend to work together, which is really nice. It's really nice. So we have morphed from being a 2-day festival. We've always wanted to do something with the producer end of it. We're very good with the creative. Look at the spinners. Look at all that stuff. Yeah, I don't want all that stuff. I'm glad you have it. So we have always toyed with the idea of doing something more with the production end of it. And frankly, that's a hard group to reach. So one of the things that has come up this year is something Mary Jeanne's been very involved with, and I just got recently dragged in. And that is basically a beginner fiber farm conference.
Hannah might
just a
be able
day
to
long.
tell us its real name.
Yeah, I have no idea.
To Hannah.
It's the.
Wait a minute,
It's the.
I just froze up.
We've got you. So just give it a minute. It's the New York Fiber Producers Conference.
Okay.
And how do people register for it, Hannah?
Well, we have a link in our link in bio, so they can go to our Bat and Kill Instagram page and then go look for the square in our links that says Central New York Fiber Conference. And then there's another one that talks about, we've got 4 or 5 posts. Also, we just sent out an email yesterday, and we'll be sending out another email next week about it. And you can also find it in the events, the news and events on the new Bat and Kill website.
And coming soon to the Hudson Valley Textile Project website.
Yes, it's already on the calendar at the Hudson Valley Textile website. Yeah.
Well, why am I so excited, you all might ask? Because this event is going to answer the questions that I answer sometimes. Elaine says, will it just be sheep? Oh, no, Elaine. It is sponsored by not only the Sheep Association, but also the Alpaca Association, the Cashmere Association, and one other sponsor. 2 different cashmeres, right? The Goat Association and the Clean Cashmere. But no, Elaine,
I have no idea.
Will definitely be included. One of the afternoon panelists is the owner of Autumn Mist Fiber Mill, that is an alpaca farmer and specializes in spinning alpaca. And I met Jeff when I still owned the yarn store in Watkins. And Elaine says, which alpaca? It's called Empire, right? Hannah, you got the press release.
Empire Alpaca Association.
Alpaca Association. And they are sponsors. And Jeff is going, his topic is, so maybe you want to start your own mill, mini mill like theirs, but still it's yet one more thing that some people who have fiber animals go all the way to milling their own fiber.
Yep.
And that's just one of the afternoon panelists. There's 3 other afternoon panelists also talking about options, and one of them is a very dear friend of mine, Ann Pettit. She is like the lead employee of my old employees in Watkins, who bought out me when I came to them and said, I'm going to have to close the store. I am out of money, and I need to take all the resources I can to try to keep the mill going. This is not long after the fire, like 2011 or 2012. And Ann, bless her heart, stepped up with some of my other employees and good customers and formed a employee-owned cooperative and bought out that yarn store. And Ann will be one of the afternoon panelists, helping farmers understand what it takes if they want to sell yarn to a yarn store.
Yep. It's a really comprehensive program, and it isn't just sheep. It's for any of the, I can't explain, I have sheep and I have alpacas, and there's no explaining the 2 Angora goats. But a lot of us have a diverse little flock in addition to the larger commercial side of it. So it's really good for anybody with any size, from 2 sheep to 20 specialty Icelandic whatevers. So actually, CNY Fiber artists and producers had toyed with this idea for a long time. but we have limited resources just in terms of labor. And it was very difficult for us to do the outreach, which is why when Cooperative Extension got a hold of us, we thought, not bad, piggyback on what we're doing, because while you're there at the conference, you also get a chance to go out and mingle with our vendors who are actually doing what you want to do, going from animal to product. Degree of finish, it could just be to yarn or just to roving, but there's people out there with finished goods. And you can, there's no one right way to do this. You can go only as far as you want. You can just send your yarn to your fleece to a co-op and buy back finished goods, or you can do the whole soup to nuts thing, and all variations in between.
Well, one of those other afternoon panelists is Karen Stern. And Karen, I don't think she's missed a year, right? She's a founding vendor of Central New York.
Yes.
She has long wool like Wensleydale and Teeswater sheep.
Yep.
And some skins that are really beautiful also. Anyhow, she is speaking about exactly that, how she sets up her booth. Soup to nuts. She's going to tell it all. Where she gets her crates, how she decides what to hang and what to put on the table, what she uses for point of sale, how she convinces her husband to carry all that stuff for her, how she
yeah, I want to know that one.
Happy.
Yeah, I
she started
need that
doing
one.
this. My first visit with Karen happened to be the same day her son was born. She didn't realize it.
Oh my!
I didn't realize it was that she was in labor. She had a group of 10 or 12 of back when I did tours of the Finger Lakes when I lived in Watkins. So I had 10 or 12 girls at her farm most of the afternoon. One of them wanted to come back and buy another sheepskin like after dinner. And I called Karen and there was no answer. And I said, oh, we'll just run up there. Well, we got there and she was in the bathtub because she was in labor. But she sold us the other sheepskin and then went on to go and have the son. But so she's all in, Karen Stern, all in. And you're going to love her presentation. If you're thinking of having a booth, Karen will really help you think that through. Now,
and some of us are better visual learners. So, and networking, just learning little things. Like I just blabbed out the name of my favorite little Indy Carter, and that might be a mistake. I might regret that.
Paulie,
maybe that's
been speaking. I don't know if you can see your screen, but some of those panelists that we were speaking about have been joining. Anne from Fiber Arts in the Glen has joined, and one of your other vendors, Sassy Black Yarns, joined the video too. And a big shout out to Sassy Black Yarns. I need to admit I haven't cast on yet, but I have it to ball wind. So I bought the yarn a year ago in New Hampshire. So I was determined to at least have a sock cuff before I have to face the music this weekend in New Hampshire with Sassy Black Yarns. This game was so pretty. Frankly, I hated to wind it.
I think we lost Paulie.
Oh, no.
I'm sure she'll be right back.
Oh, good.
It looks like she just dropped offline momentarily.
I've been to her farm, which is absolutely beautiful, but it's remote in ways in which it's different there. It's wide open space, Hannah. It's kind of almost Midwest feeling, but still same issues with internet as we have here.
Yeah, sometimes that can be. And we didn't talk about your workshop. You're talking about the supply chain.
Yes, in the morning. So the morning has several actual speakers, with PowerPoints and bios being read and all that kind of stuff. And I am going to talk people through essentially a 40-minute talk of what I do when they call me on the phone. I'm just going to close my eyes and hold my phone up to my ear like this. And then just begin saying, well, it starts with what breed do you have? And because you can, as you all know, um, that if you're going to make things, what you're going to make really depends on what your fiber is good for. If it's a long wool, if it's a fine wool, if it's down breed, and just talk them through all the options from mulch to roving, felted materials, hand spinners, pin drafted roving, yarn at different weights, and then finished goods like hats, gloves, blankets, knitted and woven. So I'm going to try to do what I do with my eyes closed and my phone up like that in 40 minutes. So people who have called before can take a nap or have a drink. Well, it's morning, maybe not a drink. Yeah, a cup
Maybe
of
not
coffee.
a drink.
Yeah, while I do that all in 40 minutes. But if you've never called before, then you could come and hold your phone up to your ear and hear what I tell people in 40 minutes.
Perfect.
The other morning speakers are also our friends. Jim Baldwin, who's a well-known shearer in the Syracuse area, is going to show a variety of fleeces. So like there'll be a table with Corriedale on it, and a table with long wool on it, a table with fine wool on it, and people will walk from table to table with Jim while he points out things like crimp and staple length and vegetation and weak tips and all the things you need to be aware of, which is going to be so helpful to have that by somebody who's handled a lot of sheep. And then also our friend Marcia from Undeniably Loopy, who is kind of a student of fiber breeds and their characteristics. So right up there with Deb Upson, really. And she's going to also be talking to people about the different breeds, and sort of more from a theoretical standpoint, and Jim from the hands-on, and then me on what you make with it, and then batting cleanup after we all set the stage comes our friend Cecilia Takjak, Cece's Wool, in the Albany area, and Cece in her cleanup role is really going to urge people to be thinking out of the box and sharing some of the amazing things she's been doing with all different breeds that were never meant to be in the hand knitting industry, including like pet beds and mattress toppers, and how she's found partners to produce these all over the Northeast. So Cece's going to do a fabulous job of inspiring people to really think outside of the yarn box.
Wow, that sounds incredible. And I think the part that I definitely want to share with everyone is that the registration itself is not super expensive. There are a limited number of spaces. And if you're thinking about joining this, you're going to be able to find that information on the Central New York website under the workshops. And also we've got a post on our website and posts in our Instagram link in bio that you can search. And tomorrow, this video will be up along with a link directly to register for the workshop. And registration closes pretty soon, right? Right around the corner.
It was just extended to June 5th.
Perfect.
Assuming that it doesn't sell out. And so there's no room in the tent for more than 50, you know. And so we're close to 50, but not quite. So the thinking was, let's not close the registration with 41 people. If Cornell said they could still handle taking the registrations till June 5th. And the event is not till June 11th. And we sure appreciate the folks at Extension. That really puts the extension in extension for what they've done to help inform and educate beginning fiber farmers. Yep. It's fabulous. I hope somebody high up at Cornell Extension is hearing me say these nice things, because the team we've been working with they really want to help their farmers.
It really seems to have finally come together. I'm really excited, and they extended the registration period. So whatever it says online, if it says something different, you've got enough time to get registered. before I think to June 5th. I think
Yes.
Yes, till June 5th.
Yep.
So if you're having any trouble finding that information, don't worry. We're going to have the newsletter go out tomorrow with this video recording, also a link directly to that registration. Well, I think that maybe Paulie's internet is fighting her tonight. She is popping in and out.
Well, people are getting a quick mill tour while we await Paulie's return. In addition to a quick mill tour, we could also remind people that we'll be at not only Central New York Festival on June 10th and 11th, but we'll also be at New Hampshire Sheep and Wool Sunday, this coming Sunday. And people who miss seeing me in person can drop off fiber at Foster Sheep Farm's booth, which is a lovely booth, and Carol would love to see you. And maybe then she would know how it feels. Because at Maryland, the single most asked question at our booth in Maryland is the following.
Where's
They come
Carol?
in the booth and they say, "Where's Carol?" Not, "Oh, what beautiful yarn." Oh, not, "We want to place a lovely order with you." No, the first question is, "Where's Carol?" So maybe she'll see how it feels, and at least one of you will go to her booth and say, "Where's Mary Jeanne?" And then where else are we picking up or dropping
Oh my
off
gosh.
doing something with fleeces?
Well, we have some pretty exciting ones coming up. So no fleeces for this one, but people might spot you and I and Carol and Gail on the floor at H&H halfway through June. So if you see us, be sure to say hi. We're going to be scouting out what's new and exciting for the next year. And then the Adirondack Fiber Festival is coming up at the end of September. That's a good drop-off point, but also a place to see a lot of our folks. And almost immediately after that, we have Vermont Sheep and Wool, which Liz from Kingdom Fleece and Fiber Works will have pickups for us there, right?
Yes.
And then after that is the big one, the ender for the season, Rhinebeck. So we have a pretty full schedule from now until October, everybody. That's our tour dates.
Well,
and you can find them all on that news and events on the website as well.
Mary
Where do you
Jeanne,
see this? Look at this stuff.
Oh my.
This is a ballet cross that came in yesterday, and it had gotten a little damp, and so it's laying here on my table, airing out a bit. But isn't that interesting?
Beautiful.
Look at that.
Oh. What's that? What do you think the micron is?
That to Central New York.
Huh.
Ballet is not one you see a lot of.
No.
And there's some of the black nose is even in it still.
Well, I'd heard that I thought they were supposed to be white.
They are. It's a white sheep. It's just dirty. It hasn't been washed yet.
Oh hello. Yes.
It was a little wet when it went in the bag. But when you get up around the neck and nose and head, some of the pieces of wool have black hairs in them.
Okay.
They like a Wensleydale, with the black nose.
Yeah.
Only they're quite a big animal. And see, look, right
I guess
here,
I thought they were.
I don't know if there's enough contrast. By my thumb.
See it?
See that little piece of black?
I see it. I see that.
Paulie, one thing we haven't talked about, we told them the whole story, how you and I found each other, and not many of the stories of what we've ever done since. Why don't you tell them about, you've mentioned you have alpacas as well as sheep. Why don't you tell them a little more about who you raise?
Oh, well, we do a lot of things that have roots too, but the stuff with feet, I do have about 20 alpacas. I'm trying to downsize. I'm down from, my record high was 54. But Yeah. I'm kind of, most of mine are fawn. There are some really excellent whites, and I have a few grays and a black. And I have a fiber farm. I have friends that are into the show ring more of it and have really elite. I helped them shear last Sunday. Honest to God, it was like fiber corn. All this beautiful white fleece just coming right off. It was amazing. I do have some Angora goats. I'm trying to, the ones I have left are the ones I will only have because I found out that trimming goat feet is not one of my favorite activities. and I'm
Oh
gonna hit
no.
the big seven. I'm gonna hit the big 7-0 this year. So bending over and trimming feet is not on my plan long term. But we do have largely Tunis Merino cross, but we also have a big component of hair sheep that eventually we'll probably have mostly of. But I've got black sheep and gray sheep and creamy colored sheep, and something's got to be done with all that. We have our own socks made. We do have our own yarns made, and we do some finished goods depending on how much time I have. I accidentally had to learn to spin because much as I love all the mills, I cannot stand their turnaround time. So I had this little batch of fleece that I had to learn to spin if I wanted to do anything with it. So by default, I'm also a spinner now. And so I went right down the fiber rabbit hole, right down. All different kinds of
Yeah,
fiber.
you are down the
Yeah,
rabbit hole.
I don't have the Angora rabbit anymore, and at 70, that's probably a good thing.
And she doesn't mean it's 70 animals. She means she is that
70
old, right,
years
Sally?
old, yes.
Bless your heart. She's
Well,
much older than me. Many, many, many
I'm
years.
ancient. I'm ancient, but I'm also getting dragged off to Florida for the winters, which might explain my tan. And and it's hard to manage a lot of various and sundry animals from 1,300 miles away. So I'm at a stage of life where simplicity is probably the more proper path. And so the Angora rabbit is not here anymore, and they're down to 2 Angora goats, and that'll be enough for a long time. Um, and it's probably why most of the sheep are getting converted over to hair sheep too. But we have a lot of
Oh,
wool. We've sheared 17 so far. We have 27 more to go, and the alpacas all got naked about 3 weeks ago. So now I'm sorting fleece, which I find very cathartic. I can do that all day. Some people hate it. I don't. And now we'll be sending all that off to a mill eventually. Probably some to you, Mary Jeanne, because I have an awful lot of fun. But the smaller ones will
yes.
go to smaller mills. So it'll be fun. Some of it'll go to a co-op, just because I don't deal with that completely. So it's all right. I believe in the co-op system. Most of my white wool goes there. The black wool we sort out and we have turned into socks because the co-op's not going to pay. The co-op's not going to pay me for black wool. They hardly pay me for white. So to make it into a useful
Especially
product,
with mid-states going out. Because didn't mid-states used to buy the pools in your
one
area?
year, one year it was Forte. I don't know. I don't know who bought it last time. I belong to enough organizations that I don't want to get into the administration of that one. You can't spread yourself too thin, and you got to be careful of that. So I volunteer to bag fleece and to sort fleece, and that's where I ran into Mary Jeanne. But I don't want to administer that at all. I want to stay far, far away. I've got enough. How did I get dragged onto this court extension committee anyway? Somebody dragged me onto this.
Well, I said that Polly was active with the festival and maybe she would be a good delegate. At one point, I had suggested you as the presenter on agritourism.
So you're the one I get to kill.
But then we got another old friend of mine, Lisa Ferguson from
Yeah.
Laughing Goats Fiber Farm in Ithaca. So I used to live right down the road from Lisa. In fact, the first mohair I ever worked with came from Lisa Ferguson's Laughing Goat Farm.
Yep.
And she really's done a bang-up job with open houses and all sorts of
She'll be great.
events.
I just don't have the time for it that day. I'm also the treasurer of that festival, so I know where my priorities lie, and I don't mind coordinating how many chairs and tables you guys need, but I'm not going to be a presenter. No. But this
was what we heard loud and clear, and
I know.
we thought of Lisa, and that's worked out great. So
Yep.
Paulie, we've come to that point in the night where we're gonna sign off, and
Excellent.
all we need to do now is remind people that who you are and how they can find you on June 10th and 11th, and before then they can find her online at Springside Tree Farm.
SpringsideFarm.net is our website. Instagram, we're Springside Farm Trees, but in all honesty, we're running so crazy right now, I don't think we've put anything up in forever. It's spring work, and we are a full-time working farm, and we have full-time obligations. But at the CNY Fiber Festival, I will be in tent C. I bring whatever animal somebody else didn't volunteer to bring. The last couple of years, I brought my Angora goats because nobody was bringing them, and they promptly jumped out and created havoc after everybody went home. So I have to have a new strategy this year. But other than that,
Paulie on June 10th and 11th, or Springside Farm online.
Yep.
And then the registration for the conference that we want you beginning fiber farmers to come to, so that I can answer all your questions at once in 40 minutes flat. That is going to be link in bio. Google it, anything, look at the Central New York Festival website for a link. Find it, register, and come and join us. It's going to be a great day. It's very inexpensive. It's only $30 for the whole day. You have to bring your own lunch or buy from one of the
we have some
food vendors.
Excellent food vendors there.
It's very
and
good. It's more like food truck as opposed to carnival food. It's very good food.
Yep. And we have on the CNY Fiber Artists and Producers website, there are lists of hotels, and your registration includes your admission to the festival. So
and
you have the whole thing. And your parking. And so $30 gets you in for all kinds of crazy. And it's a nice, friendly little festival. It's not gigantic like Rhinebeck. You can see the whole thing. If you want to come both days, that would be great too. Anyway, Mary Jeanne, thank you for inviting me.
The whole thing that you meet people. Oh, you're welcome, Paulie.
Yes.
You're so welcome. I'm glad that it worked out. And Hannah, thank you for coordinating us all.
Thank you, Hannah.
Absolutely wonderful to have you on, Paulie. And for anyone who's watching who joined us here at the end and you missed some of it, don't worry. We'll have the replay tomorrow on YouTube, on our blog, and in an email newsletter to you, along with the links to this event and to the conference.
Okay, we're going to sign off. Bye, everyone. Have a great night.
Bye.